Now, I've wanted to make this video for almost a year now. And the reason why I wanted to make this video was because I could see where technology was going and where people were going and where the development of the internet, ARPA, was going. And I wanted to remind them, if I had pull, of what the internet originally was for. As you can easily get on this webpage and read. It's a really excellent read, talking about the old UNIVAC systems, TCP/IP. But what was the original intent of the internet? What was the internet for? And the reason why I say that is because when you look at this right now and you see this information right here, okay, you don't see the word viruses and you don't see the words security because they don't exist. As far as that, I mean, there are viruses, but keep in mind that there's people intentionally, designing viruses for certain things that they want to see go away, if that makes any sense. And to me, the best education on any computer, doesn't matter if you're on Windows 3.1, Windows 95, 98, Millennium Edition, was be careful where you click, because otherwise you get malware or stuff of that nature. But what was the original intent of the internet was to share information. Share information, freely share information. I think that's what Tesla wanted to do back in the days too. Nikola Tesla and his system wanted to basically do the same thing. But here, in the year 2022, it's always frowned upon because, you're running Windows 95 or you're running Windows 98 or Windows 2000 or Windows NT4 or it's insecure or it's going to easily get infected. That's not true. To me, what they need to be reminded of is that the internet is for everybody. So if there's a old Mac, computer out there that wants to surf the internet, it should still be able to. And it's kind of sucks because people went out and spent lots of money to get computers that cost lots of money to surf the internet. And now they're door anchors and boat anchors, and you can't really do anything with them because the internet crippled, the communication layers and media crippled those machines from talking on the internet. To me, my big drive is to try to push Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8 back into the limelight, or old Mac operating systems, because I'm still using Mac High Sierra on a laptop because it only has 2 gigs of RAM built in. You can't add any more. It sucks and it slows, but it gets the job done when it comes to communication because it helps me share my resources with somebody else using the internet. But to me, why am I here making this video? I think people need to be reminded out there in the world what the internet is and who it's for. And the fact is that when there's a lot of future development being done, people can come back and look and go, oh, hey, wait a minute, maybe I should support this whole computer on our website or whatever, just in case there's this old Mac or old PC that wants to sit and surf it. It drops into what, basic HTML mode, real easy stuff. And most people bitched and griped because, it adds extra coding. Well, that was the whole idea of the internet, was to basically be able to surf the internet from anywhere, anytime, and not have to sit there and worry about security and viruses, because most of the stuff come through emails and people misclicking on links, downloading the wrong software, and obviously the virus or malware, went to town. But at the same time, we got to be reminded, 1983, what was going on and around. And you don't see security in our viruses, or, our big one was monkey bee virus that hit Intermec. I remember that, and it hit a bunch of old machines. And having to get rid of it was easy. McAfee boot disk, boot up, boom, got rid of the monkey bee, all the information on the machine stayed, and we were happy. But needless to say, just don't forget where the internet came from, to see and understand where it's going to be going. And the idea, this also goes into what Eisenhower also talked about, the military-industrial complex having control of this ARPANET and controlling certain things. But to me, my biggest gripe is that there should still be support for Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 2000, stuff. Government should have contracts to design software for old stuff, because it'd give old people jobs again, what I'm saying? Instead of running around watching people with phones in their face, the old folks and old timers could go back and talk about their faxes and mainframes. But you didn't ever hear anybody that, in fact, that used those mainframes talking about, the viruses or, the security. No, they were actually pretty damn good, I mean, it was just basic. The only time I'd ever really see security breaches was people just falling for stupid pranks. Somebody calling on a phone, just like Kevin McNick did back in the day, and get information that way. Just making people more intelligent and using. Go watch the movie Hackers. I don't believe that the base passwords are what they say, but to me, it doesn't matter what your password is when you have mind control or thought reading technology out there that can, as you're typing your password, it can read that system off in some type of background system, and it knows your password, so it can log in. But it doesn't want to screw with you. In other words, it doesn't want to mess with you until that an appropriate time. But keep in mind, this is the internet. We're talking like back in the days and stuff of that nature. But needless to say, especially in the era of what we call nuclear attacks and high altitude nuclear explosions and stuff of that nature, how does it have anything to do with the internet? It's history. If you look right in here, the history is right there. You can go through and no, Al Gore did not invent the internet. He probably knew people that did, but you know how people are when they want to take credit for something. I have no credit for anything. I'm just me. My job is to remind people of the old days and stuff of this nature. Why we had the internet. What was it for? Sharing resources. Not securely sharing resources, because that's military, that's intelligence. But for just general people, for an old Windows XP computer out there looking for, say, a guy wants to download VLC, to this old machine, and he can't because his machine can't surf the internet. That's what I'm talking about. It's just, when designing software out there, especially when it comes to software development for people, don't forget where the internet come from. And there are people that are on old Macs and old PCs that are still out there surfing the internet. And a lot of these internet connections and a lot of these websites push out too much information we don't care to see. In the dial-up, it kept everything constricted, and we didn't have bloatware. Now that we have super fast internet connections, bloatware is predominant. It used to be, frowned upon to make bloatware back in the day, but nowadays it's, they'll happily reward you with contracts, government contracts, whatever, to design bloatware to basically make somebody's computer slower so they can sell you another machine. Pretty sad, right? So anywho, as my main gist here is, don't forget where the internet came from. To understand where it's going to be going. A lot of people have come along and had to remind people of this information from time to time. And me, I'm still an avid, a runner of Windows XP. If you continue to use Windows XP, you might be susceptible to more security risks and viruses, no more than any other system that's already out there. It's just an intelligent user that keeps that machine running good. Or, intelligent techs, tech support or engineers, that stuff of that nature. And bloatware kept off these machines too, by the way. To me, I think Windows XP was the fastest, but well-built, Microsoft operating system that, achieved what Microsoft was trying to get at, especially with 95, 98, and Millennium, was, ease of use and being able to run old DOS programs. And man, let me tell you, Windows XP definitely did a lot of stuff. But now it's lost, long and gone, forgotten. Vista was its supposedly replacement, but no, let me tell you, Vista was even worse. But needless to say, remember where the internet comes from to understand where it's going to be going. To me, I'd like to be able to see development platforms still going back and supporting some of this old, operating system, so that way some poor guy wants to sit up and get up on a slow ADSL line, he doesn't have to go through thicket of, advertisements just to download a stupid old file for his old Windows XP computer that most people would be considered obsolete, or her computer, doesn't matter. But the idea is that, still being able to surf the internet, Yahoo or stuff like that, and get the information that you need. Just keep that in mind when it comes to the development and stuff like that. You can see I'm kind of like pushing a little bit of Windows XP, and support. But the whole idea is that they never supported it to begin with. The patches and securities. I mean, you can still install Windows XP and run it today, but the designers and developers have got to remember what the internet was for: sharing information. Not, going, oh, viruses and security, or Norton's going to save you. No, just knowing where to click and how to properly click, and watching, looking for false and fictitious email links and stuff of that nature. Just basically a smart end user, fixes a lot of problems. At all the companies that I worked at, when we made our end users a lot smarter, we noticed that the infections and stuff that we had to do to them went down to practically nothing. We basically, the only time they ever wanted to see us was when something new came out and they wanted to understand how it worked, and we would, come down and illustrate or demonstrate, the new technology to them. But like I said, the main gist of this is, remember where the internet came from, remember who designed it, remember the direction it's trying to go. And let's try to help these old computers, still be able to surf the internet in the year 2022, 2023, because time is flying. But like I said, the support for the old stuff is, dwindled to almost nothing. And I'd like to see that change around, just basically making more intelligent people about what the internet is and how dangerous it can be, considering if you see whose names are involved in this list, you understand whose internet or whose turf you're playing on, especially with the good old eavesdropping AT&T building over in Texas. You know, don't get that. That's controversy right there. And the NSA spying on literally every you know internet protocol connection going through all this stuff. But to me, if you remember where the internet came from, you understand where it's going. And the idea is to try to help promote and keep things alive, even from the old days. I mean, I'm still saying support for Amigas still out there. Most people don't even know what an Amiga computer is. So I really appreciate YouTube for educating and helping keep people sharing information and sharing resources to be able to keep this information going on out there, and be able to obtain unobtainable parts, from back in the day. That's what we used the internet for. If we wanted to find something and we couldn't call a local distributor, we got on the internet and looked, sharing information, and it didn't come up and say, hey, your Norton's not working or your security's out of date or stuff like that. It's just most of the time it was hard finding stuff and people actually having it in a stock. So, but other than that, ARPANET. So don't forget where the internet comes from. That's all I'm saying. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. If I don't see you tonight, tomorrow, or next week, you have a wonderful time. As the Truman Show would say, you can go look at the Truman Show. Good stuff. But like I said, from back in the days, remember who's making the internet, what the internet's for, and for people who are out there controlling this stuff, don't forget. That's all I'm saying.